Hey, welcome to the Cowbell Kingdom Road Reaction Postgame Show. I am Jonathan Santiago. This is James Ham. And the Kings lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers 109 to 99 in Cleveland. And the Cavs led by a big night, a career night from their rookie, who everyone has been saying has been a bust. And for the most part, this season has been a bust. But this year, he's a rookie. He comes up big. Anthony Bennett, 19 points, 10 rebounds, career highs for the Cavaliers rookie in the victory tonight.
Yeah, John. They got embarrassed by Anthony Bennett, just like they got embarrassed by Jared Sullinger, Marcin Gortat. I mean, just name it. This road trip is a disaster. I blame you. I blame you, Santiago, and your 3-1 prediction. They'll be lucky to be 1-3 on this road trip. I don't even know if they can pull it off. Their mental state right now looks. I hate it when Jerry says it, but discombobulated. They need to figure out how to be combobulated.
I think you bring up a good point there, James. That a lot of their issues right now, I think, are all mental, because it's not like this team is any different than the team that was playing well a couple weeks ago. Of course, they've had some injuries, they've had some guys get ill, but that happens throughout the course of an NBA season, and as a professional, you have to deal with that. But it really seems like they're just in a mental rut right now, and they can't get themselves out of it. The great Daryl Arata, let me see if I can pull up this stat. He sent out his media text messages, and the Kings are. Let me see if I can get this here. On the current road trip, the Kings are averaging 90.7 points per game. Opponents are averaging 100.3 points per game, and the Kings are shooting 38.7% from the field in their 3 losses on the road, with 1 more to go against the New York Knicks tomorrow night. But again, as you bring it up, it seems like they're just kind of they're in a funk, and they're allowing themselves to be in a funk, when in reality they have all the control in the world to at least play decent on offense. I mean, and we didn't really see much of that tonight, until like the later portions of the game. But this team, to me, I think, is, as you mentioned, they're kind of they're stumbling because they're getting in their own heads right now.
Yeah, I would say so. I think the All-Star game thing has really got Cousins in a funk. That's one major issue. We've seen like temperament problems like the last 3 games where he's yelling at his teammates. Tonight, I know there was a play where he was so upset with one play and he went to yell and he realized that it was Rudy Gay's guy, and he doesn't get to yell at Rudy Gay, so he just bit his tongue. He said, "There goes Luol Deng right to the rack," and it's like he wanted to scream and yell, but he couldn't. The fact is, Cousins needs to stop yelling at people. That's number one, because 21-10. But you know what? Tristan Thompson and what's his name, Anthony Bennett. They played a lot together, and one of them had 16 and 13, and the other one had 19 and 10. I got to be honest. One of those guys lit Cousins up at least a couple of times, and it's just time. It's time for him to shut up and just play ball. And that, I know he's upset. That's a big part of it. But you know what? The last 3 games proved that if Dirk Nowitzki is not going to play in the All-Star game because he's hurt, because I think he rolled an ankle or something tonight. He limped off the court, had to go to the locker room. If he's not going to play this coming weekend in the All-Star weekend, that doesn't mean anything to DeMarcus Cousins, because DeMarcus Cousins, as opposed to dominating the last 3 games and showing that he was left off the team, that it was wrong, that he should have been there. Instead, it doesn't matter what he scores. 31 points, 16 rebounds, 21 and 10 tonight, whatever it was he scored tonight, it doesn't matter. His team is 0-3. And, I mean, when Jared Sullinger wins a Player of the Week after he played you in a week, you know that you've done something wrong. And I hope they get that. I hope that DeMarcus Cousins gets that, because it's been a bad week for Sacramento, and I hope they can wake up out of their funk, because it certainly doesn't look like they've stopped listening to Malone. It just looks like they're playing horrible basketball.
Yeah, it does. It really does look like they're playing some of their worst basketball, I think, this season. A lot of selfish play early on in this game on
Yeah.
offense. And, we'll touch on that a little bit more. But what to watch? Three things to watch. We look at how does DeMarcus Cousins respond following the last two losses, and again, very similar to the game against Boston, where he puts up good numbers. I mean, the final numbers for DeMarcus, they look good: 21 points on 5 of 12 shooting, 10 rebounds, 4 turnovers in the loss. But again, as you mentioned, Tristan Thompson goes off and has 16 points and 13 rebounds, and Anthony Bennett, on that front line for the Cavaliers, has 19 points and 10 rebounds for the Cavs. So again, DeMarcus Cousins, as you mentioned, he had a chance to really show, or he's had a chance these last 4 games after being snubbed from the All-Star team as an injury replacement. He's had a chance to show the critics and to show Adam Silver and Rod Thorne, that, hey, you guys made a mistake. I should have been on that team. And realistically, he hasn't done that, here in these last 3 losses for the Kings. Let's move on to point 3, because I know you touched on DeMarcus a lot on the last one. Will illness continue to limit Rudy Gay's effectiveness? He shot 4 of 12 from the field, had 14 points, 9 rebounds. I don't know if he's still feeling sick from the flu he had a couple days ago, but the last 2 games, obviously, not great shooting nights for Rudy Gay.
Yeah, not just great, not great shooting nights. I mean, 4 of 12 from the field is not good, but the fact is he didn't play any defense either. I mean, Luol Deng just absolutely annihilated him. 9 of 17 from the field, 4 or 5 from 3. He scores 22 points, 4 assists. I mean, Luol Deng just owned him, and Luol Deng is in a situation where he doesn't want to be, and I don't know if Rudy Gay has some residual sickness, illness issues, but I got to be honest, there were a lot of those 8 misses were just downright bad shots. They weren't good shots at all. I know there were a couple of shots where literally he's standing out on the left elbow, and Jimmer Fredette is at the top of the key, completely unguarded, calling for the ball. And Rudy Gay looked at him, has a man on him, and pulls up and shoots a 3. And the fact is, Rudy Gay shoots like 36% from 3-point line, and Jimmer Fredette shoots like 47 to 48% from the 3-point line. He had no business shooting those shots, and of course he goes 0 of 2 from 3-point land, and that plays into his, if he hits both of those shots, look, now he's 6 of 12, and we're not complaining about his shooting. So it's just one of those deals where, this team is selfish, and they continue to be selfish, and you hope that they get better with that issue. As a King, Rudy Gay shooting 33% from behind the arc. He should never, ever, ever pass up an open Jimmer Fredette for an own 3-pointer for himself. That's just basketball 101. It's bad basketball. And, again, I'll put Rudy Gay right up there with anyone else. Yeah, Jimmer on the season, 46% from the field, from behind the arc. So a guy who shoots 13% better from you anywhere on the court, you get him the ball there as opposed to yourself.
All right, let's move on to the last point of our 3 things to watch, and wanted to check out the bench battle. And tonight, clearly, the Kings were outmatched on the bench by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Anthony Bennett, as I mentioned, career night for him, 19 points, 10 rebounds. Dion Waiters was huge for the Cavs off of their bench, and he's been kind of their spark reserve this season. And he scored 20 points, had 8 assists, 7 of 17 shooting. So those guys combining to score 39 points versus the Kings, who had Ben McLemore chip in only 9 points. Derek Williams with 10, another 0-point game for Jimmer Fredette. Carl Landry coming on with 6 points. So once again, the Kings got nothing out of their bench, and this has just been the same story, for the last few weeks or so. And there was a point early on when they started to kind of figure out their roles after the Rudy Gay trade, where Jimmer Fredette and Derek Williams were playing fairly well off of the bench together, but that's just not something that we've seen so much from the Kings lately.
Yeah, for me, I don't know that the bench, I mean, I know that Cleveland got a huge, boost off their bench, but that's because guys like Tyler Zeller really aren't, starters in this league. And even Tristan Thompson, to me, isn't a frontline guy. I mean, these aren't great starters. Jared Jack starting at the point guard position. So I think Cleveland relies on their bench in a different way than Sacramento does. And I thought that the bench actually in the first half did some nice things. I know in the first half, the starters in all of their minutes, which were the majority of the minutes in the first half, had a combined 3 assists, and all 3 of those were from Isaiah Thomas. And the bench had 6 assists, and they barely played at all. And it was 2 assists, 2 assists, 1 assist, and 1 assist between 4 players. And to me, that meant that they were actually doing what they were supposed to be doing. The fact is that the bench came in early for Cleveland and lit up the starters for Sacramento. And then it kind of carried over. Once the bench came in for Sacramento, sure, they gave up some points. But honestly, I don't think that the bench was really an issue. They ended up scoring like 37 points tonight. That's not really that bad.
Hey, let's touch on some of, as I mentioned earlier, some of the selfish play we saw out of the Kings tonight. I agree with you. I kind of thought that Rudy, kind of regressed a little bit back to Toronto Raptors Rudy. Kind of forcing up shots. I thought he did that too Sunday against the Washington Wizards and trying to make plays out of nothing. And you look at the assists for the Kings to the assist-to-turnover ratio. They have 18 assists on the night, 14 turnovers. Isaiah Thomas, he finished with 8 assists. That's not bad for him, actually. But, again, not enough ball movement for this team tonight against the Cavs.
Yeah, and Isaiah 1 of 6 from the three-point line. I mean, the guy's just in a major funk. And 1 of 5 from the free throw line. That's actually substantial when you consider, the score of the game. And it's a 10-point game. It was probably a little bit bigger than that. But that guy should be automatic from the line. He has been his whole career. Just, focus issues. And I didn't think Isaiah Thomas was a huge problem in this game. And I actually, for that matter, I kind of liked what Marcus Thornton did as well. Thornton, of course, chucking up 3-pointers like he has all season long, 3 of 7 from behind the arc. But he also he actually mixed in a couple of other nice jumpers, one of which went in. And I thought for his 24, 25 minutes, 11 points wasn't bad. But again, he gives you nothing else. He didn't have a single rebound. He didn't have a single assist. He had 1 steal. He had more turnovers than he did assists or rebounds combined. And that's just not going to cut it. So I think that this team is still struggling so much to figure out their identity, and I hate saying this, it's still going to take some more time. These guys haven't played together that long.
All right, player of the game nominations. I'm gonna go with Anthony Bennett, the rookie for Cleveland. I mean, he did finish with 19 and 10, which on the surface may not wow you that much, but he shot incredibly efficient for the game. He was 6 of 9 from the field, made all 3 of his 3-point attempts. He was just very good for Cleveland, and I'm sure for Cavalier fans that's a welcome sight to see, considering this was a guy who not too long ago may have been sent down to the D-League.
Yeah, my player of the game, I would like to give it to Bennett. I thought he played really well, but to me, Luol Deng set the table early in this game. He really turned the screws on Rudy Gay. He finishes 19 and 17 from the field, 22 points. I thought he was pretty exceptional. He was able to limit Rudy Gay every step of the way, and he's just a pest. He's got such long arms. Thought he played extremely well. That would be my player of the game. I mean, I understand, Bennett or even Dion Waiters stealing the player of the game, but definitely for me it was Luol Deng.
Final thoughts here as we wrap up the Road Reaction post-game show on CowbellKingdom.com on our YouTube channel. The 3-point shooting, James, was just for the Cavaliers, and the 3-point defense for the Kings. This has been an issue for the Kings all season long. Even before the trade, the Kings coming into this game were ranked 27th in 3-point percentage, and once again, opponent 3-point percentage, excuse me. And once again, their 3-point defense letting up against another opponent. They let the Cavs shoot 12 of 21 from 3-point distance for 57.1%. And they let the Cavs open up the game fairly strong from three-point land as well. In the first quarter, the Cavs shot 4 of 7 from deep to open the game, and I thought that was probably a major X factor, a major difference maker in this game, considering both teams shot right around 45, 46, 47% from the field for the game.
Yeah, John, for me, sort of my final thought is the Kings are limping into the All-Star break. They look worn out. They look like this 3 going on 4-game road trip has just taken the wind out of their sails completely. Injuries have hit them, illness has hit them, sort of knocked them back, and they need to regroup in this little break. Ben McLemore, of course, will be at All-Star Weekend doing the slam dunk contest, but overall, I think they really need to regroup as a team, have a good coming to Jesus talk, and figure out what's next, because right now, I think they're sitting right at the bottom of the NBA. They're the 3rd or the 4th worst team in the league. They're primed to get another high-end, draft pick. Again, they got guys who aren't playing well, guys who are in funks, guys pointing fingers at other guys. That stuff all needs to stop, and they just need to see how they can finish out this season, give Coach Malone something to build on for next season, or I guarantee you this, half of these guys will be gone. Half of these guys could be gone at the trade deadline, which is coming up in like a week and a half. But the rest of these players, the other half, could be gone before next season, because this franchise now, the way it's put together, they're just not going to put up with this. The days of 24, 25, 26 win teams is over, as far as I can see, and this team is going to make rampant changes quickly.
All right, on that note, let's wrap up this edition of the Road Reaction post-game show, where the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Sacramento Kings 109-99, and we'll be back tomorrow immediately following the game. The Kings wrapping up a 4-game road trip in New York, taking on the New York Knicks. So join us for another edition of the Road Reaction post-game show then. For James Ham, I'm Jonathan Santiago. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Road Reaction post-game show. Join us again tomorrow after the Kings take on the New York Knicks.